Today I talk about motivation and drive for race training and why it's not the only thing holding you back. Hey guys, welcome to MotoFit TV, episode number 15. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. So normally I talk about a lot about the strength and conditioning side of things, and I don't do a lot of talking or a lot of focus on the motivation side. So there was one person that mentioned something in one of the comments, which Jeremy will read out now for us.
Austin said, "I need the motivation."
So with a lot of the videos, obviously I've put a lot of content up and put a lot of heaps of information and stuff for you guys to be able to implement. Now, one of the big things that comes up with a lot of riders and racers is having the motivation or the drive to actually take action and implement it and be able to do that. And that comes from a couple of different things or a few different areas. So the first thing is that drive and motivation is directly related to your goals and the amount of progress that you're making towards those goals. So the first things need to happen is, number one, we need to have goals which are attainable, okay, and we need to have a time frame for those. So when we're picking out our goals and what we're working towards, we need to try and be very, very specific. You need to be specific about what you're working towards because this is going to determine whether it's worthwhile you actually putting the effort in over the coming weeks, months, years, however long your goal is. So simply saying, oh, I wanted to go in this season and I want to do well, probably not going to motivate you and be very driven to go and do your training and put in all the work. Whereas if you say, okay, I want to work on being able to get in the top 10 in WA this year, I want to work on getting a 2-minute lap time at this particular track, then you're setting a definitive goal that you can actually measure progress. Just saying you want to do well, you can't measure that progress. Now, human beings are wired for progress and growth. So the feeling of happiness comes from, or enjoyment comes from constantly progressing. So you want to make sure that with your life, with your riding and racing, with your training, that you're constantly making progress. It's only when we go into our training, when we go into our riding and we aren't making progress, that's when the drive and motivation starts to drop, because we feel like we're putting in the work, putting in the time, but not really moving anywhere over the long term. So it's first of all important to set that goal. And then the second thing is making sure that you have indicators or making sure you have a system set up to make sure that you're actually moving closer towards those goals. So it's crazy how many people actually set goals. They want to lose weight, gain weight, get stronger, get faster on the bike, but they don't have a system to be able to get there. They don't have that blueprint or map. So it's very important that you have that system, you have that map there to be able to help you. So we need to reverse engineer. So if your goal is to get top 10 in the state, we need to find out, okay, what do you need to do with your riding, racing, training over the coming months to help you get into that top 10? Maybe you had a problem last year with nutrition, okay? Just trying to eat healthy or hoping that things are going to get better somehow and you're going to start to eat properly without actually having to put in the work or getting any help is just crazy, because you're going to defeat yourself before you've even started. You're going to get in, you're not going to see the progress, not going to see the results, not be consistent, not be confident with what you're doing, and then not get to that end result or not see that progress, which means the drive and motivation comes off, okay, or declines. So in order to keep that drive and motivation high, we need to have those end goals in sight, but we also need to have a system there to make sure we're making that continual progress. And most of that comes down to the type of training, the type of nutrition, the type of results you're actually getting. Most people with their training and nutrition, or most riders and racers, don't have an appropriate system that they're using for their training and nutrition. So they don't see results, okay? When you're going from no training to training, you're going to see results doing anything, whether that's your local boot camp or walking the dog. But when we want to be able to step up and have that long-term progress, many riders and racers get a few weeks into training and then they'll plateau. They won't make any progress, or they won't be progressing as rapidly as what they did in those initial weeks, so they'll stop, or they'll be inconsistent and they'll have a break, and then they'll get back to it again when they feel motivated again after a few weeks, and then they'll go and they'll see that big lot of progress again because they've stopped training, and then they get to that same point and then they stop, and it's not, instead of being one consistent climb, they always stop starting and they never really make proper progress. And that comes down to the type of programming and the type of training you're doing and the system you're actually following. You need to make sure that your training and your nutrition is set up for the long term. set up for 12 weeks, 24 weeks, 12 months, 5 years, 10 years, you need to make sure that the long-term game is in mind. You need to be able to make sure that you're putting the work in and you have that appropriate system there to be able to get you there. Otherwise, the drive and motivation won't be there. Okay, you won't have that drive and motivation if you don't have that consistent progress. So if you're training currently and you're putting in all the work and putting in all the time, but you're not really getting the results, or you're finding that you're inconsistent, it's because the drive and motivation isn't there because you've lost sight of the end goal, number one. Or number two, you haven't been able to make consistent progress, which means you need to change the system, change the approach. Okay, you need to find something that's going to be able to help you to be able to map everything out for you so that you can see that progress, whether that's on the bike, whether that's with your training, whether that's losing weight, gaining weight, getting leaner, whatever your goal is with riding and racing, or even just personal health, you need to make sure that there's that consistent climb. So motivation and drive, everyone's saying I lack the motivation. You don't really lack the motivation. You lack the systems and you lack the goal and you're lacking the progress. They're the three key areas that hold you back from being able to get to where you want to be. It's not motivation or drive. Those things are a byproduct of having those other systems in place ready for you to roll. So that's just what I wanted to touch on today in terms of motivation with riding and racing. So just remember, find a system, have something to follow, and have something that's getting you consistent results. If it's not, then you need to find another system and use something else to make sure that you're progressing so that you can stay driven and motivated, okay? It's not about watching 10 motivational videos or listening to your favorite music, okay, or having someone to be able to help hold you accountable or trying to have a training buddy to force you to go to the gym. It's about having those systems in place to be able to get you to the end result. So, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. It was a bit of a short and sharp one today. And I also want you to post any questions below. So post in the comments below. If you've got a question you'd like me to answer for you, post it below in the comments section and we can get you featured on the next episode or future episodes with our show. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode and I'll see you guys later. See ya.